laugh too much.
Do you go to church, and how regularly do you attend church?
I went to church when I was younger, but I really don't go anymore.
Have you ever attended a church service where the topic of discussion or the topic of the sermon was about racism?
I mean, not really, unless it was in chapel. I mean, my church was full of African American people. We really don't address racism. But in chapel, they addressed it maybe once this year when, like, the election thing happened, but that's it.
Do you think it's a problem that pastors, priests, and other spiritual leaders avoid talking about racism?
I mean, to a degree, because if you don't talk about something and address it, you really can't not solve it, but you really can't take steps to kind of end it generationally.
Do you think that pastors avoid talking about race on purpose?
I mean, I think so, because, not to sound rude, but a pastor, when you talk about something in chapel or, like, in church, like, the people that go there as a whole are supposed to not necessarily agree, but, like, all form an idea that's around one. So if one pastor goes out there and, like, he's preaching in the South and he knows that the main, like, topic of racism is already, like, not seen as awful, he's not going to go and talk about how bad racism is, because then he's going to lose most of his congregation.
Do you think it produces major confrontation and underlying conflict among congregations?
I do, like I was saying before, like, it hasn't really been talked about or addressed lately, and I mean, we have so many the racial tension in America is extremely high, like it always has been, but right now, like, with the recordings and stuff, it's prevalent, you can see it, and they're still really not talking about it. I mean, I can't blame them, like, it's not a topic people necessarily want to talk about, but it's there and it exists, and if you don't talk about it, like, it just stays, like, they're not gonna solve anything with it.
Can you think of any examples of confrontations that this topic has produced?
What the heck do you mean?
Like, can you think of any examples of, like, a result that this is, like, talking about racism in a church has produced?
Like, the issues that could come if someone talked about racism in a church?
Yeah, or could you think of an example that you've, like, witnessed that has happened, if you have?
No. Like, my church is full of, my church was full of, like, African American people, like I said earlier. I mean, we really didn't talk about race because we're all of, like, the same race, which I guess I could say for, like, a more white dominant church, but, like, at the same time, it's kind of your job to inform people and, like, let them know to end something from happening. They really don't. I mean, I've never been in a... What do you... Stop talking. She ruined it.
Just keep going. I'll edit it. Alright, continue.
I just forgot where I was.
Alright. The last question is,
That was such a good answer, too.
what would you say are the benefits of talking about racism in a church service?
Okay. So, talking about the benefits of ending racism in a church service, it's more so, like, I always thought, like, being a Christian or, like, going to church was, like, making myself better to make other people better, or to make people feel like they not necessarily belong, but, like, to help inspire people to, like, want to follow your religion. And it's like, I forgot the question.
Like, what are the benefits of talking about racism, like, in a sermon, in a church, or whatever?
I don't know how to answer, but it's okay. Discussion. Okay, so the benefits of talking about racism in a church service are to, like I said before, to inform people, to let them know, like, this stuff happens. I mean, it's not just a coincidence. It's not because one person's a criminal. It's not, like, a once-in-a-million opportunity. Like, it happens all the time. And if you don't talk about it, you don't know about it, then you're somewhat ignorant to it, and you're really not helping the problem. You're just exuding colorblindness, and that really is just another form of not being racist, but just ignoring the problem. And when we ignore the problem, it doesn't get solved.
Amen.
Wow.